When I think of you, I get all emotional, baby. Good morning. I should probably do all these things. How could I do all these things? Hold on. That's better. I can drink my coffee. Good morning. Hi, Lee. Hi, Paulina. How are you? Ah. Wow, Luigi. I hope you're having a good day. Happy Friday. Ugh. God, it's been a minute. I need a Friday. I need a Friday. I need a Friday. I need a Friday. Hi, Neil. Speaking of coffee, time for number 2. Yeah, well, you're in the future, so that's understandable. Out there in the future, you've already had 1 cup of coffee. Do you know that stupid song, 5 Margaritas? Please tell me you know that stupid song. Give me 1 margarita, I'ma open my leg. I keep thinking, I keep thinking of coffee. Give me 1 cup of coffee, I'ma open my leg. No, I'm just kidding. I easily. How are you? Oh God, I'm losing my mind. I don't know it. You don't know it? Oh God, you gotta search that song out. That's a bop. Not for the, not for the prudish though. However, not for the prudish. Yes. Ah, my eye to water. Anyway, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you, Jane. Please don't hate me when you do, okay? Don't go, oh my God, why would she share this terrible song with me? Who is going to a protest tomorrow? Perfect weather forecast, hitting the pavement. I love it. You're not prudish. I know, Jane. I love you. There's nothing wrong with being prudish. You're not familiar with that song? Come on, Neil. I'm going to drag you guys into pop culture if you're not already there. I know plenty of you are already there, but I really enjoy living in pop culture. I don't care what age I am. I definitely know 100 beers on the wall. Well, this is a slightly different take on the same concept, actually. Interestingly enough, now that you say that. I was replacing margarita with a cup of coffee, but it still doesn't work that way. Illegal to protest in Florida. Ah, I don't even know what to say about that. This world, how people treat each other is really mind-boggling. It's very difficult to take because you always think, oh well, okay, this is terrible, and then the next terrible thing comes out, and then you're like, when's the terrible stuff gonna stop? It's only like March. We're not even like in that big of a, like that's so terrible. Take one down, pass it around. 99 bottles of vodka on the wall. What's his name? We are going to talk about the economy, but there's a couple things happening. One is, oh, where is he? Oh, okay, he's not talking yet. One is RFK is going to say something, which, I might just listen to because I don't really care. Yeah, it's very discouraging and frightening. Yes, Paulina, I can understand why you feel that way. I think that's pretty normal. Um, I think my biggest, actually that's not true because I really haven't watched like mainstream news too much, so I don't actually know what they talk about. But I feel like one of the things they're not talking about is how much damage is being codified into law while we talk about also very important but more salacious things. And I know I keep harping on that, but I think it's actually an important point. I think it's important. I think it's important to at least try and take notice and uplift people that are noticing the different messages that were. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm joking. Starts at 100 and counts down. I didn't know there'd be math. Neil. Take one down, pass it around. 99 bottles of beer on the wall. Great song, by the way. Great song. One can lose count. Yes. Imagine with margaritas losing count. Where's my animals? Where's all my animals? My granimals. My brother's in Thailand. I'm trying to get in touch with him. I'm sure he's all right. His place is north of Bangkok. I hope you're able to get in touch with him. My God, that's so frightening. Let's see. Yeah, the earthquake. Yeah. I would imagine phone lines are terribly down. I have a couple of friends in Nepal, and every time there's an earthquake there, which there are earthquakes, I can never get in touch with them. So I know what you mean. Like the phone lines go down immediately. So hopefully you can get through. I'm sorry, Jim. Gosh, that's so frightening. It's so frightening to have people over in areas where there might be some danger. Sorry about that. I hope you get some word soon. Um, so one of the things I wanted to talk about, I actually created a pretty cool little thing for you. Hold on, I'm going to show it to you. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. All right, so I made some notes. I made some notes to share with you. Do do do. How do I make it bigger? How do I make it bigger? All right. Oh, that's actually not that big. There we go. I mean, I made myself some notes. I'm not good at reading from a script. So just so you know, this is why I'll never be an actress. Because I'm real. I mean, actually, that's not true. If you gave me a script and I didn't write it, I could read it. But if you give me a script that I've written, I can't read it. Because I'll sound like an idiot. I'll sound like an idiot. Improv. Yeah, I'm much more of an improv person. But anyway, I did make some notes last night because I wanted to at least make sure I had some, pathway to follow. 67 days into this administration, really, that's it. So I mean, today's purpose is learning, okay? So I'm not teaching you anything. I'm not going to teach you anything. We're going to learn together because I don't claim to be an expert on the economy. I'm just concerned about it. And so I wanted to spend a little time going through some of the things I've picked out that tell us a little bit about the economy. But I know what I don't know, and that is a lot about how economies work and how different things impact longer term, day-to-day life kind of thing. So that I'm not as well versed in, but I feel like some of this information is important. And there you go. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much all I wanted to share. So please lower your expectations. This will not be a TED Talk. It'll be more of a conversation. Good morning, Paul Langen. Where's Paul J? Come on, Paul J. Get over here. I guess it's a little early on the East Coast. Good morning. I love people saying good morning to each other. That just makes me so happy. You don't even know. You don't know how happy it makes me to see you all say hello to each other. That just makes me so happy. I love it. Um so in addition to the human rights abuses and the gutting of our federal government, there is the economy. What can feel like a slower moving tragedy impacting in pockets and then rising to flood us all. Well, not all of us. It won't flood everybody. He owns a tea plantation, and the proceeds go to the local schools. He hooked them up with the satellite so they have access to the internet. Wow. Oh, that's incredible. That's amazing. That's crazy. Paulina is accounted for. Yes, Paulina is accounted for. Paul J is not. Not yet. But it's early. It's early on the West Coast. Okay, so I did put a couple links. Like my first question for myself was where's the economy right now? Like what do we know? What do we know? And this isn't exhaustive, but it kind of helps you understand like kind of what we know. So, oops, redirecting you. So this is something I go to every once in a while. It's the conference board. It measures different economic indices and all that kind of stuff. So it gives you, here we go. The Consumer Confidence Survey reflects prevailing business conditions and likely developments for the months ahead. This monthly report details consumer attitudes, buying intentions, vacation plans. Who takes a vacation? And consumer expectations for inflation, stock prices, and interest rates. Data are available by age, income, 9 regions, and top states. I can't. Okay, so this is the news from March 25th. And this is just a snapshot in time. Layoffs in auto and steel in the Midwest. Vehicle production numbers being reduced. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay. Well, here we go. U.S. consumer confidence tumbled again in March. Consumer expectations for the future at a 12-year low. What? Me worry? No, I'm kidding. The Conference Board Consumer Confidence Index fell by 7.2% in March to 92.9. Let's see. The Present Situation Index, based on consumers' assessment of current business and labor market conditions. This is very small, isn't it? Oh, not that big. Okay, what am I doing? Okay. Sorry, everybody. I hate you. Okay. Let's see. Here we go. 7.2 points in March to 92.9. The Present Situation Index, based on consumers' assessment of current business and labor market conditions, decreased 3.6 points to 134. The Expectations Index, based on consumers' short-term outlook for income, business, and labor market conditions, dropped by 9.6%, the lowest level in 12 years, and well below the threshold of 80. It's at 65. That usually signals a recession ahead. The cutoff date for preliminary results was March 19th. So this is as of March 19th. Consumer confidence declined for a fourth consecutive month in March, falling below the relatively narrow range that had prevailed since 2022, said Stephanie Gishard, senior economist, global indicators at the Conference Board. Of the index's 5 components, only consumers' assessment of present labor market conditions improved, albeit slightly. Views of current business conditions weakened to close to neutral. Consumers' expectations were especially gloomy, with pessimism about future business conditions deepening and confidence about future employment prospects falling to a 12-year low. Meanwhile, consumers' optimism about future income, which has held up quite strongly in the past few months, largely vanished, suggesting worries about the economy and labor market have started to spread into consumers' assessments of their personal situations. March's fall in confidence was driven by consumers over 55 years old and, to a lesser extent, those between 35 and 55. By contrast, confidence rose slightly among consumers under 35 as an uptick in their assessments of the present situation more than offset gloomier expectations. The decline was also broad-based across income groups, with the only exception being households that earning more than $125,000 a year. So this gives you, since 2007, down here, the Consumer Confidence Index. So you can see 2008, this is the crash, like the housing crisis right here. And blee blah blue, COVID right here. COVID right here. You can't really see my cursor, can you? And now it's boopity boopity boop. And it's on its way down right now. So that's that. Gishard added, likely in response to recent markets volatility, consumers turned negative about the stock market for the first time since the end of 2023. In March, only 37.4 expected stock prices to rise over the year ahead, down nearly 10 percentage points from February and 20 percentage points from the high reached in November 2024. On the flip side, 44.5 expected stock prices to decline, up 11 points from February and over 22 points from November. Meanwhile, average 12-month inflation expectations rose again from 5.8% in February to 6.2% in March as consumers remained concerned about high prices for key household staples like eggs and the impact of tariffs. Consumers' view of their family's current financial situation improved slightly, but their expectations for future finance declined to the lowest level since July 2022. The proportion of consumers anticipating a recession over the next 12 months remains steady at a 9-month high. These measures are not included in the Consumer Confidence Index. The share of consumers expecting higher interest rates over the next 12 months increased from 55 to from 55 to 55 from 52 or 53, while the share of consumers expecting lower interest rates dropped to 22% from 24. A special question about how easy it is for consumers to form expectations about the future found considerable self-confidence among consumers in assessing their own future income prospects and family financial situation, with over 45% finding it easy and 20% finding it difficult. All right, let's see. On a 6-month moving average basis, purchasing plans for both homes and cars declined. Surprisingly, given the anxiety about the future, intentions to buy big-ticket items, including appliances and electronics, ticked up, which may reflect plans to buy before impending tariffs lead to price increases. Yes, Lee, right? Lee knows. Lee knows. That's it. Bing, bing, bing. Consumers' overall intentions to purchase additional services in the months ahead were little changed, but their priorities shifted. Fewer consumers plan to spend more on movies and live entertainment or sports, and more plan to spend on outdoor activities and travel. Vacation plans also increased. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Wonder what that means, if it means anything. Comments on the current administration and its policies, both positive and negative, dominated consumers' write-in responses on what is affecting their views of the economy. Write-in responses showed that inflation is still a major concern for consumers and that worries about the impact of trade policies and tariffs in particular are on the rise. There were also more references than usual to economic and policy uncertainty. Consumer assessments of current business conditions were significantly less positive in March. 17.7 said business conditions were good. 16% said conditions were bad. It's a rise. 33% of consumers said jobs were plentiful. 15% said jobs were hard to get. Let's see. This is the present situation and expectations. I don't totally understand that, so I'm not going to try. Let's see. Family's current financial. Okay. This is all their perceived likelihood of a U.S. recession. Now this is by people, right? Is based on an online sample, is conducted for the Conference Board by Taluna, a technology company that delivers real-time consumer insights and market research. The cutoff date. Okay, so All right. So this goes from July of 2022 to March of 2025. Perceived likelihood of a U.S. recession over the next 12 months. So from 2022, we're going to have a recession in 2023. Oh, no, we're not. Oh, yeah, we are. So that's that. All right. Okay. Let's see. Okay. I see what it's doing. Ugh. I saw comments from the former CEO of Target that tariffs won't raise prices, maybe not in retail where markup is already huge, but for goods with imported inputs like cars. That's a good point. Thank you, Lee, for that. Thank you for that. Carney and Trump are speaking by phone this morning? Interesting. Very interesting. And here we go. This is another story I picked up on. Let me see what this one is all about. This is an opinion piece on Market Watch. So it's not a news piece, it's not a journalism piece. It's an opinion piece, but I thought I'd read it because it's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting. Kind of interesting. Okay. If you think the US dollar can't fall a long way, think again. Oh, these guys are mad. Neil, perfect timing to make the 5 o'clock Friday news and make Klump look like a hero. Art of the deal. Trump thinks it's leverage for renewed USMCA in 2026, but too late then. Damage will be done. So you're okay. Let's see. Wait. Trump is supposed to have warned auto execs not to raise car prices because of tariffs. Could he have made the same threat to retail execs? Perfect timing to make the 5 o'clock Friday news. Yeah. I saw comments from the former. Oh, yeah. You know, I wonder. Um. So are they having a news conference or anything? Did it Neil, is Carney or anyone having a like comments? Hold on to your love. You've got to hold on. Hold on to your love. Yikes. Yikes. Okay. Na, 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 na. Oh, they have that. They have an interview with Jeffrey Goldberg and Ann Applebaum about the Signal chat. That might be interesting. Oh, is he in Greenland now? He's in Greenland right now. 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 Yeah. Let's see here. Sorry. I'm just trying to balance. What the fuck am I doing today? Hey. Yeah. Wait, what? All right. So in a few minutes, Robert F. Kennedy is going to speak with the governor of Virginia. So that'll be interesting. But let me just see. God damn it. Something wrong with my eye. Okay. Here we go. Okay, stop. Because you're not doing anything right. All right. Stop it, because you're not doing anything right. Wait. What is that? What is that? What is that? What is that and what is that? No. Okay. All right. I think I'll do this and wait for Bitch Kitten. Okay. If you think the US dollar can't fall far away, think again. I think you're wrong. Well, think again. The dollar could fall 29% against the euro before getting to the point where typical consumer goods and services cost the same. It could fall 18% against the Canadian dollar, known for some reason in currency markets as the loonie, before reaching the same parity. And it could fall a staggering 37% against the Japanese yen and an incredible 52% against the Mexican peso before prices leveled out. Oh, wait, who's saying hi? Wait, Trump is supposed to be more. I expect Ottawa. So the big retailers like Target can hold the price points, but the mom and pops can't Can't eat it. Yep, exactly. I've heard automotive is paying small suppliers first to help cover tariffs, but not sure how that can last. Well, and I want to talk about one thing today. I need to look it up. I didn't clip it last night. I apologize. But Trump said in his comments on whenever it was, Tuesday, Monday, I don't even know what day it was, that these tariffs are permanent. And I don't know if I'm the only one that heard that, but that's what we're going to talk about today, is because the plan is not, this isn't just we're going to tariff you until you do what we want. That's not what it is. That's not what it is. This isn't a negotiating tool. This is a plan. I know. These idiots done no research. I know. Exactly. Never mind. Don't even worry about them. So reports Professor Werner Antweiler at the University of British Columbia's Sauder School of Business, citing the authoritative data tracked by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development with the international body for richer, more developed economies. With the exception of the Swiss franc and the Icelandic krona, the U.S. dollar is unusually strong. Antweiler tells me this means that U.S. exports are relatively more expensive compared to goods produced elsewhere, and it also means that U.S. imports are particularly cheap. The U.S. dollar is currently going through a phase of broad overvaluation. This is absolutely the essential context for understanding the Trump administration's economic, financial, and trade policies, which economists and financial planners are increasingly describing as the Mar-a-Lago Accord. U.S. President Donald Trump wants to slash the value of the U.S. dollar against other international currencies to make U.S. manufactured products cheaper both at home and overseas, while making other countries' manufactured products more expensive. Net result for Americans: fewer imports, more exports, and more economic production. Supposedly, anyway. The use of accord deliberately echoes the so-called Plaza Accord, signed by the U.S. and other major world governments at the New York's Plaza Hotel, 2 blocks from Trump Tower, and was owned by Trump after that, in the 80s, to end another period of U.S. dollar overvaluation. But there are a couple of major differences this time around. First, nobody so far has signed anything. There is yet no Mar-a-Lago Accord. Second, there may never be one. Okay, well, that's one thing. But he's just doing it in pieces. With the Trump administration, unilateralism is a feature, not a bug. For better or worse, Trump is trying to bring down the dollar through turmoil. If anything, we should talk about the Mar-a-Lago discord. Where will it lead? Place your bet. One of my go-to gurus this week, after begging me to find a way to quote me so that I won't get murdered in the streets, said Trump was successfully bringing on a U.S. economic recession, both to plunge the dollar and to bring down long-term interest rates. This, he added, was critical to passing his big tax cut bill. The U.S. government cannot afford to finance its massive deficits on, like, treasuries, right? We have to pay on our treasury bonds and stuff, and enormous national debt at current interest rates. Trump and the Treasury Secretary want yields down in a recessionary, chaotic environment to justify passing their tax plan, he says. It does appear that he needs chaos to get his tax plan passed. The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget estimates that making the 2017 Trump tax cuts effectively permanent would add another $37 trillion to the national debt over the next 30 years. Let's see. But another source points out that even as the U.S. heads towards Tariff Day on April 2nd, markets are recently moving in the opposite direction. U.S. Treasury yields, after tumbling for the first 6 weeks of the Trump administration, have stopped falling and started rising again. The interest rate on the benchmark 10-year Treasury, with a coupon rate of 4.3%, has jumped to 4.35 from 4.15. And inflation expectations are now rising, not falling. The 5-year so-called break-even rate, which is the bond market's forecast of average U.S. inflation over the next 5 years, has been edging higher for the past week. This, despite all the signs that the Mar-a-Lago discord is having its predictable effect on the confidence of U.S. consumers, corporate CEOs, and others. Trump needs a falling dollar, not rising inflation in this Trump needs a falling dollar, not rising inflation. In this context, it's worth adding that the Mexican peso is almost 20% lower against the dollar than it was a year ago. To the Mar-a-Lago Discord worldview, that helps Mexico and hurts the U.S. I'm still surprised at how complacent U.S. stock investors are at this attempted revolution in America's financial affairs. Where is the Mar-a-Lago Discord discount in U.S. equity valuations? Foreign currencies and international stocks would seem to be better placed to profit, but only time will tell. So, sorry, kind of geeking out, but it's kind of interesting to me. And the CBO is also not very happy. Not very happy. This is from the New York Times. From, when was it? When was this? Oh, this was yesterday. Yeah, this was yesterday. U.S. faces significant risks from debt. Whoops. Analysts say as Trump pursues tax agenda. Good morning, peace, love. Sorry, I need to dab the tear from my eye. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. Hi, butterflies. The part about exchange rates and devaluing dollar as positive for U.S. The part in that article Gal shared from Stephen Mirren. Yes, I'm gonna read. I'm gonna read the actual Mar-a-Lago Accord. So That's part of this morning. Let's take a look at this. All right. So U.S. faces significant risk from debt, analysts say, as Trump pursues tax agenda. At its current rate of borrowing, the country's debt as a share of the economy will reach 118% in 2035, the Congressional Budget Office said on Thursday. As President Trump and his Republican allies race to renew a set of expiring tax cuts for families, not really for families, okay? Nice try, but no, doesn't really help families. Sorry about that. Unless you make a lot of money. They are confronting an increasingly urgent fiscal challenge: how to extend those policies at a time when U.S. debt is sky high and still soaring. The latest warning arrived Thursday from the Congressional Budget Office, a nonpartisan watchdog that offered a new assessment of the nation's financial strains. It found the government is borrowing money at a fast and expensive clip while confronting the rising costs of a rapidly retiring population. Those factors prompted the CBO. Oops. Hold on, I think I've got a sighting of a stupid man. I've got a sighting of a stupid man. I got a sighting of a stupid man. Your internet isn't good. Oh, butterflies, I'm sorry. Lee, thing is, Canada, the prevailing opinions are this is the second time Trump U.S. has torn up NAFTA USMCA, and a new USMCA in 2026 won't be worth the paper it's on because of Trump. Yeah. You know, I mean, he does kind of ruin his flex when he is completely out of control. You know, like that's a good point. Well, actually, maybe I'll just take a minute here and we'll watch RFK. We'll just take a minute. Take a minute. Take a minute. Take a minute. Wild, wonderful, healthy. What's going on? Anyways, this is Maha. Sorry about that. Sorry, everybody. Why would any other country... This is the thing. Now here, okay, so the other piece we have to talk about as part of the whole economic policy is kind of the relationship with Russia and the fact that what is evolving, butterflies, is something slightly different. It's not going to fit the traditional economic molds that we're used to. They are really pushing to create a technate, which is the kind of control over other countries and their resources. right? This is it. This is the, the plan is to acquire as many resources as you possibly can at the lowest possible price, which means that's why we're saber rattling, is because he's telegraphing his moves. He intends to take the resources of other countries for our own benefit. Period. It's not about controlling a country per se, like Canada. It's about taking what Canada has. He doesn't care about the governance of Canada. You see what I'm saying? Whatever he can do to get access to the minerals or the oil or the other things, that is what he's doing. That is what he's doing. Oh, I really need this nut to water. I need my eye nut. Anyway, yeah. He wants us in the lumber yard and the quarry. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so it's just like I don't anyway. Let me la 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 la. Scooby Doodly Doo. Let's see. Let me go over here. Ugh. Ugh. I had to find out what was he doing? He was doing the tariffs last Thursday. I don't even know what day is it. Was that yesterday? Did he talk about tariffs yesterday? Oh my God. I'm so losing my mind. I need to find where that part was that he wait, hold on. La 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 la. Tariffs. Oops. I want to find that part where he said they were going to be permanent. What? Where's that damn... Oh, here we go. This is what I want. This is what I want right now. This is what I want. All right, this is Deutsche Welt. Deutsche Welt. German. It's the Germans. Yeah, it's the Germans. Okay. Oh, what happened? What happened? What happened? Oh, no, you're not. I don't want you. I don't want you. Go away. Nope, I'm going to play that in a minute. Wait, what happened? Okay, that's fine. What happened here? What happened to you, my darling? What happened to you, my friend? What happened to you, my darling? What happened to you, my friend? What happened? Did it go away? Oh. What happened to you, my darling? What happened to you, my friend? Okay, wait. What was I looking at? Oh, this is Trump announces permit. Okay, wait a minute. This isn't just, he didn't just say this about foreign cars. He did not say foreign cars exclusively. Aside from wanting to strip Mother Earth of her minerals, I still think he wants Canada for other nefarious reasons. Same for Greenland. Well, I mean, there's shipping lanes. Well, let me show you another story we're going to read today. Unfortunately, it's just too much. It's too much. Where is it? Shit. Where is it? God damn it. Where is that fucking story? Hold on. This is my problem. I have too many bookmarks. I thought I had this story out there. Huh. Oh. Okay. That's fine. Hold on. What was I gonna do? It was more of the story. Wait, what? Putler is pushing the opening of the Arctic again. Oh, that's what I wanted. Trump and Putin. Trump and Putin. Yeah. Is this the part? Is this the one? Yeah. Okay. Here we go. This is good enough. It wasn't the story I was looking for, but that's fine. So this is from CNBC. Russia's Putin said it would be a profound mistake to dismiss Trump's push for Greenland. So they're meeting. Putin and Trump are discussing Greenland. This is literally not. This is not about us versus them. It's us and them carving up the globe. Okay? Trump is working with Putin. They stop! Shh. Wait, what? Whoa. I've got 8 million of these. Uh-oh. Where's the other one? Oh, shit. Where's the other sound?
How about that? Welcome. Thank you very much.
Oh, my God. Shut up. Oh, my God, you guys, I don't know where that is.
Let me start.
Hold on. I just fucking turned that off because that's too much. Oh, God. What a fucking boiled pig. Where is the goddamn thing that's playing? What the fuck? What is playing? Oh, okay. Jesus. Wow, I'm really
Guys,
sorry.
why don't you take a seat? I want to thank everyone so much for being here. I want to thank all of the elected officials.
I want to check your hard drive.
I want to thank our wonderful First Lady of the state of West Virginia, Denise. I want to thank the leaders of the Maha movement in West Virginia. We want to thank the principal of the school, Maria Bird. Our secretaries of Health and Human Services, Dr. Arvind Singh and Alex Mayer. And we also have a special shout out for the key leaders in West Virginia who have made today's event possible. I'm going to go through them real quick, and they're going to have a moment to speak in a few minutes. Chairman Jason Barrett, who also represents you right here in this district.
It's interesting you say that, Butterflies,
We have Chairman
because
Evan Worrell.
I was just looking at posts on YouTube. You know how posts come up, and
By the
even
way, I
for
wanna note
channels
that
you don't
Summer
subscribe to,
Barrett,
you get posts if
who's
you've
married to
watched their
Jason,
stuff before.
She's a Maha mom.
Ooh, he's so gross. Ooh, creeper.
We have
Ew.
Chairwoman Laura Chapman. Good
Ew.
friend. Thank you for coming up.
It did make sense, absolutely. And let me tell you, I'm turning him down. I can't listen to that boiled pork voice anymore. Anyway, I saw Chuds. Wait, where was it? I need to see it. Hold on. I don't understand everything that all the implications for his approach to their approach to the economy. This administration's approach to the economy, I don't understand it. It doesn't all make sense to me. And I am not an economist, so I don't understand the natural relationships between some of these things, Like when bond prices go down, yields go up. I mean, I understand there are concepts like that, but I don't totally understand the concepts in my head. But yeah, it is the North American Technate plan. That's right, Neil. So it is this administration intends to restructure the world economy in such a way as to really, I mean, frankly, enslave people as workforce. And there will be a greater divide between wealth and poverty. So, like what I know, and that's why I wanted to have this show, is because I wanted to think through some of the stuff we've heard and determine, what do we know? Like, what is it telling us, and what could be a clue about what's coming? And I think this administration wants a vision very different from what most Americans are used to. And I'm sure that some of them will be like, oh, this is great. But I don't think we understand enough of the ramifications about that. Yes, the tariffs have spiked auto insurance. All of the insurances are raised because the replacement costs are higher due to tariffs. That's why tariffs impact insurance rates. Is because the cost to build back will be more expensive in the future due to tariffs. And Trump has said these tariffs are permanent. He said it. So some people think this is a negotiating tactic and it goes away if the other person, concedes. But that's not what the plan is. The plan is to drive manufacturing back into the United States and to not import. That's what the goal is. The goal is to have enough control over the natural resources that are needed so that you can, yeah. Yeah, I mean, hello, of course it's all going to rise because of, the tariffs are a use tax. So here's what it was. I got to find it because I'm going to make a fool of her. I don't even care. These fucking chuds, they think that, they can just say things with impunity. Well, I know they don't watch me, but I'm about to put them on blast. So, hold on. Yeah, let me show you what this stupid idiot said. God. Where is it? Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. This is a typical chud. Let me show you a typical chud. This is Angie. She's really good at like doxing people and shit like that. Everybody knows everyone from the convoy knows Pirate Angie, right? She's a cunt. She's a fucking hickbilly bitch cunt. But anyway, beyond that, she's very much on this MAGA thing, right? So here's what she posted. I saw it this morning, so I don't know. It just comes up like randomly. She posted this: tariffs abolish income taxes. And she's like, I could not agree more. You dumb slut. Oh, Jesus. What is this? I'm not even sure. Good news. Don't try to stop what the USA people voted for. I can only imagine what this is. Oh, here's my sexy man. Fuck you. I love Judge Boasberg. I'll vote for him. Anyway, I'm sorry. That was a little petty, but I just want to show you what chuds actually think. They actually think this stuff is good. I don't think she's Baby Tooth Brenda. I don't really know. I don't really know what her other nicknames are. No, I think that's one of the other pirate things. Other pirate people. But this is this is her dumb take on it, and that's pretty indicative. That is pretty indicative of what the chud thinks. You know, the chud short-term thinking. Check the difference in revenue generated from taxes and tariffs. Not even close. And U.S. companies pay the cash for tariffs. I know it won't last too long at current rates. I'm going to tell you right now. Oh, Angie, wait until your kratom. Yeah, your kratom costs double. I think it's great. I say, you know what? You're right. Angie, I think you should pay all the tariffs. You should pay all the tariffs. You stupid whore. Oh, she is Baby Tooth? Oh, I didn't know that. Oh. I thought that was another Brenda, because there's a Brenda, right? There's like 7 Brendas or something, right? They all look alike, too, as far as I can tell. But anyway. But that's neither here nor there. That's not economy. That's not the economy, stupid. Oh, wait. I got to find the Maha guy, because I'm not paying attention. Oh, he's still talking.
SNAP so that good food choices are easier to make. If taxpayers are paying
Cow tongue?
for it, let's make sure it fuels health, not disease. But, and I'm being serious about this is not about judging someone's grocery cart. It really isn't. I don't want to do that. I don't think anyone here does.
Isn't that what it's about?
But it is about asking a fair question. Is the SNAP
it's about getting a
program
cushy
doing
job.
what it was supposed to do?
That's what it was about.
You see, SNAP stands
he-
for Supplemental Nutrition
Oh, this is good.
Assistance Program.
I like this. Tell us
That
all about
N
SNAP.
It's for nutrition. It's not for nonsense.
Really? Oh, so you want to control
If the
what
law
people buy.
says the program is meant to
Why
help
don't you
people
buy less
get a more nutritious
porn?
diet?
And why don't
then that
you
should be
buy
the standard.
less Mountain Dew, you fat
Why
fuck?
should hard-earned
You
federal
fat,
and state
disgusting
tax dollars
slob.
be allowed to ignore nutrition?
If he had an
Taxpayer
aneurysm
dollars
right now
should
on
be
stage,
targeted
I would laugh.
toward nutritious foods.
I would laugh. Check the hard drive. Check this dude's hard drive.
That is why
That's all
today
I'm saying.
I'm also intending to
I hate
request a
these
SNAP
guys.
waiver from the federal government to no longer have taxpayer-subsidized soda as an entitlement
What?
under SNAP. We're also going to be incentivizing healthy bundles and other food choices that can help people access and eat better foods.
Really?
Healthier foods.
What about you?
That healthy bundle and other programs?
Do you eat healthy
that's gonna
foods, you
expand
fat,
access to healthy
disgusting
food choices
piece of
in this
flesh?
area and all 55 counties
You
in the state.
sick,
Quite
disgusting
frankly, I think we can do it, and we can also even save money,
anus mouth?
federal money at the same time. I'm eager to
I
work
hate him.
with you and the entire Trump administration on that.
Yeah, you ought to meet a salad or two.
Making America healthy again and West Virginia healthy again, that's not just a slogan. That's going to be our mission. And here in the Mountain State, we are leading the charge.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to see all your fucking chuds
And
stop buying Mountain Dew.
that's because in West Virginia, we're not just climbing the mountains.
Y'all are
We're
so
moving.
dumb. Y'all are so dumb.
Let the
Yeah, I
rest
wonder
of
how
the
much food
country
rotted
take
because of the
note.
way they stopped
We're
USAID.
cleaning up our food. We're lifting up our families. Where
you're
tax
not.
dollars are involved, we're incentivizing
We're making sure nobody
consumption
does
of
anything
healthier
fun.
foods. We're respecting the dignity of
YouTube
work,
suggested
and
a
we're living
tarot
up to our
video.
name.
RFK
Wild
Jr.'s
and
probably
wonderful.
sipping his
And
aquarium
now,
cleaner.
a healthier West Virginia.
Oh, good luck. Yeah, start with brushing your teeth. You got something in your... You got something right here.
It's my honor to be here today.
You got something right here.
Thank you all for coming. God bless you. Now...
Do they have veneers
I'm
in
gonna
West
take a moment
Virginia?
and get ready to turn this over to his fine gentleman next to me. And I want to recognize someone
The one who killed a bear.
who, quite frankly,
Is it make
become one of the
roadkill
most
great
talked
again?
about,
Is that what
most
West Virginia's going to
vilified
do? They're going to
man
make
in
what?
America.
They're going to make
You should
roadkill
be
great
proud,
again?
Mr. Secretary, because
Yeah.
I am of you.
Rah, rah.
Because when the bureaucracy gets nervous, it sees real change coming. Secretary Kennedy has been willing to speak hard truths.
You know, he
take
should
on
be dead.
powerful interests, and stand up for
Could he
everyday
die right now?
Americans,
That'd be
even
fine
when
with
it
me.
wasn't popular,
I'm sorry. I'm
even
not
when it
I'm
wasn't
not
easy.
actually
He's
leaving
not
any
afraid of a
sympathy
fight,
for these guys
and
anymore.
that's exactly the
They're
kind of
done.
leadership
He
we
probably
need
is.
in Washington. So
He probably
today,
is a coal guy.
on the heels of a major public health win in West Virginia, we are proud to stand.
Wow.
Please join
Guys
me
really know how
in
to
welcoming
elect
in
him.
A warrior for children, a man who refuses to
A
back
warrior
down,
who wants to hurt children,
HHS
killing
Secretary
children with
Robert
measles.
F. Kennedy Jr.
Yeah, he's so proud he said the name Kennedy. He thought he just had a heart on. Why don't you go shake one out in the corner there, Governor? Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't hug me. Don't hug me. Don't hug me. They all think he's a Kennedy, and that's why they're so fucking hard right now.
Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Governor Morrissey. I'm very, very happy to be here at St. Joseph's, and I'm really happy to be here in West Virginia. I just want to say
Ban
a
the
few
junk.
words about West Virginia. Because West
Yes,
Virginia
he's
is
going
a
to
state
Greenland.
that holds
Yes,
a special place
I know.
in the hearts of every Kennedy. In the 1960
Oh my
campaign,
God, he
I was
really
living
focuses
in
on that
McLean,
Kennedy thing that
Virginia.
he really has no part in.
But my parents disappeared into West Virginia for about 6 weeks. And we didn't see them. As
Why?
well as all my aunts. My uncle
Why is
President
that?
Kennedy, who was then in the Senate, was running for president. And the consensus wisdom around the country was that
He chaired the
Catholic,
Children's
Roman
Defense
Catholic
Fund.
could not be
He's killing
elected
children with
president of the United
measles.
States.
He wants them to die.
Al Smith had run against President Roosevelt. He was a Catholic from New York. Catholic.
He's
governor,
like the
very,
director
very
of
popular.
eugenics.
And people
Basically,
found out that he
between
was
him and the
Catholic.
Health and
There
Human
was
Services guy.
resurgence of the Ku Klux Klan.
Come on, tarot reading.
Crosses burned all across the country. And he lost the election catastrophically. And people just.
Neil says the Morrissey guy lived and worked in New Jersey and D.C. all his life until 2012 when he suddenly became a West Virginia politician. Oh,
When my uncle decided to run for president, he knew that he had to win West Virginia. West Virginia had the lowest number of Catholics, less than.
you're not a
2%
Kennedy.
of the
They kicked
population
you
was Catholic.
out. Okay, your dad
It was
is
thought
literally
to be
going to
a
come
place
back
where,
from the grave and say,
with-
"Shut the
with a lot
fuck
of
up."
anti-Catholic prejudice,
You don't
and
know
voted,
anything.
Overwhelmingly against Al
Because he's a
Smith.
Kennedy easily.
was
They're
critical
so
to my
fucking
uncle's
enamored and they
campaign
think
that he
they've
win
made
this
it to the
state
big
and show
time.
the country
These
what
podunks
Catholic
from
would
fucking
win
West Virginia nowhere.
presidency.
Sorry, I love
He
West
came
Virginia.
down
It's
to West
beautiful,
Virginia,
but you've got a lot of
and
shitty
his
people in your
objective was
state.
to shake
Trust
the
me.
hands of every
I know.
person in West Virginia. And I think he came very close. And
They
on
think this
elec-
is
and my
great. They're like,
parents came down, my uncles, my
slap,
aunts,
slap,
and
slap,
luckily
slap.
we had a
They
lot
love
of
it.
Kennedys. And
Exactly.
all
They
came
kicked him
down,
out. He's never
and they
been a
spent time
Kennedy.
really getting to know
He's
the
a
people
fucking
of West
loser.
Virginia and
He's a
understanding the
fucking
issues of the
loser.
state, the problems, and those things stayed with him
Morrissey's a dick.
throughout his presidency. And on election day,
But he
won
just
the
showed what
state
a
of West
puny little
Virginia
man he is by
overwhelmingly.
sucking up to this piece of shit.
During his presidency, he always believed that he would not be president.
Look at, he keeps talking about Kennedys as if he is one.
And he never forgot
That's all he's
that
got, you guys.
relationship and that bond
He has
that
to
he
make
had
people
formed, and so
believe
many members of
that
my
he is
family
part of that Camelot.
formed with the people in this state. The
He is
affection,
hell bent on identifying
with which
himself
they were
with the
greeted
Camelot.
and embraced. And it's something that now, 70 years later, everybody in our family has this very, very strong
For West
affection
Virginia? Okay, thanks. That's
and
great.
bond to
Great
this
story,
state.
bro.
I've been lucky enough that I've been able to spend a lot of my career doing work in this state, in the mining country, and trying to end
Who'd you kill
pollution
here?
and give people a chance to live healthier lives. I want to thank Governor Morrissey for his visionary leadership.
So what you're going to do is ban poor people from buying soda. That's what you're going to do? That's what you're going to do.
We were both down in Palm
Hello.
Beach. working on
MAGA
the
voters,
transition
you
in
love your...
Mar-a-Lago.
I've never drank Mountain
We were
Dew in my
both
life,
invited to stay during that
but you
time at
apparently
Dr.
have
Oz's
drunk it
house, and
in
I
excess.
got to know- I said to Dr.
Well, guess what? You
Morrissey,
can't use your
Governor
EBT
Morrissey,
anymore
first
on
and
it, so
foremost,
fuck off.
I said, "You
You're
look
going to
like
have
you
to
hate
buy
Governor Morrissey."
soybeans and milk.
And
raw
there's
milk.
a lot of talk about getting healthy again, and I'm very happy that he's invited.
Are you going to start with him? Are you going to put him on a diet?
And I am going to put him.
Oh, he is. I was
I'm
kidding.
going to put him on a really rigorous regimen.
Oh my God, he's just called the
We're gonna put
governor
him on a
fat.
carnivore diet.
He just called the. He
We're gonna
called
make
the
him
governor
do-
fat.
Raise your hand if you want Governor Morrissey to do a public weigh-in once a month. And then when he's lost 30 pounds, I'm going to come back to the state and do a celebration and a public weigh-in with him. You're welcome, Denise.
Oh my God.
We, was an open-
He just
he
called
left
you
me an
fat,
open door,
Governor.
so-
He just embarrassed you. He just humiliated you.
You know, we have a public health crisis in this country.
Wow.
Unfortunately, West Virginia is leading the way.
These guys are
It's the
brainless.
highest obesity rate
Absolutely
of any
fucking
state in our
brainless.
country. This year, you pulled ahead of Mississippi.
Oh yeah, he'll love
It's the
it.
highest
Tell me more, Daddy.
rate of chronic disease in the
Yeah, I dare him. Tell them not to
And
drink
so I'm
Mountain
very,
Dew.
very grateful
Come
to
on
Governor
now.
Morrissey
I know,
for
Audrey.
visionary leadership
I want off this
in
timeline.
getting West Virginia to lead the way
I don't like these posts.
in transitioning off of processed foods.
Okay, good.
When my
Okay,
uncle
tell
was
us more. How are you going
president,
to do that? Regulations?
3% of Americans had chronic disease.
Are you going to do this with regulations, you
We
stupid
spent
shithead?
zero on
By the
chronic
way,
disease
here, I'm
in
wearing
this
my
country.
shirt today.
Zero. There were
Abolish ICE.
there was no medications for it. Today we spend
Abolish ICE.
We spend $1.3 trillion on chronic disease every
Oh,
year.
you want captions?
It's
I'm
about
sorry. I don't have
90%
captions on there. Oh, it is on there.
of our
Okay.
healthcare budget. And you know, for most of my life, the Republicans and Democrats have been fighting about a healthcare
One of my
plan,
favorites.
about treatment,
$18 on
really a
Etsy.
sick care plan, about how to treat all this illness. Should it be Obamacare, the affordable health plan? Should it be public-private partnership? Should it be a single payer? These are what the big battles that you read about on Capitol Hill. The real battle is that we're getting sicker and sicker every year. And no matter, and it's really just a debate about who's going to pay the treatment. Nobody has been focused on how do we get ourselves less sick. And it's like moving deck chairs around on the Titanic. No matter what you do, our country is going to go bankrupt.
You are
It's
the
now-
Titanic.
when
That's
I
true.
was a kid,
He is very hard to understand.
diabetes rates in children were almost zero. Juvenile diabetes, a typical pediatrician
Oh, here we go.
would see one case of diabetes
Oh my
in
God.
his lifetime.
There's a fucking nutcase as the head of health or whatever he's the head of.
Is pre-diabetic or diabetic.
He is. We have a nutcase
38% of teens are now diabetic.
as the head of Health and
50%
Human
adults.
Services. He's going to kill
A few
people.
years ago, it's not a mystery about where this is coming from. 20 years ago, there was no diabetes in China.
Oh my God. Yeah, really?
50%
Oh, the
of the
Chinese
population
reported
is
that to you,
diabetic.
did they?
Why is
Did
that?
they report that to you?
They built 20,000
They
fast
told you
food
double
joints
dog
in
promise?
China
Did
and
they double
started
dog promise?
selling American
Did they
processed
double
food.
dog promise?
And this, it is costing us, we are now paying more just for diabetes, mitochondrial dysfunction, than we are for our military. And, financially, it is bankrupting our country.
He doesn't know anything, you
We're now
guys.
spending more to
Okay,
service our
Chuds,
debt,
he's
and the
not a
biggest
Kennedy,
piece of
number
that
one.
debt
He was
is
kicked
coming
out a
from
long
healthcare.
time ago.
We're now paying more
He
to
doesn't
service
know
it
about medicine or
than
food.
we are for our military budget. Within about 10 years, if we continue on this trajectory,
Except told him.
50 cents out of every tax
And he's been
dollar
eating
that
fast
that
food.
you
Yes,
pay to the federal
butterflies.
government
This
is
guy
gonna go to
eats only
servicing the
fast
debt.
food.
Within 15 years, 100%. It's not sustainable. It's existential. If you love our country, you got to take care of yourselves. President Trump said that he wants
Don't
to
be
make
such a
America
slob.
healthy again, but he wants
If
to
you
make
love
it
our
strong.
country, stop being a slob.
We cannot have a strong country if we have 6 citizens. President Trump says that he wants to restore the American dream.
Of what?
A
Did he say that?
Who is
say that?
healthy has 1,000 dreams. A person who is sick has only one. And there is 60% of our country now that has only one dream, which is to get better. And we need to give them a pathway to doing that.
We
And
just
the
don't want you to
pathway
kill us.
is through food.
That's really,
Food is
I'm
medicine.
pretty much at that point.
It treats us in
Don't you,
different
dot
ways,
that
and it
fatso,
treats our
don't you
health.
love America?
It treats our mental health. There was a recent study that showed that when
What
they
is the skinny
switched the
tie
diet
thing?
in prisons, that violence went down to a whole food diet. That violence went down by about 70%.
Really?
When
70%?
they switched
Wow.
the
Hi,
diet
Tom.
in juvenile detention centers, the whole food
The
diet,
diabetes situation is
violence
true
went
here. Our
down
country is
100%.
sick. Put the damn fork down, fatty.
There's a
LOL.
scientist at Harvard now who is curing schizophrenia
Oh my God.
with a carnivore diet.
Everybody's going to be vegan.
Oh,
Oh,
loneliness,
breaking news.
dispossession, crisis that we have in mental health, in suicide, in
If you love your
ADD,
country, get off the
ADHD.
do.
All of these are linked, and particularly to the dyes.
Oh, my God.
It's very clear the dyes that Governor Morrissey is banning, all of them are linked in very, very strong studies to
True.
ADHD and to cancers.
It's the Jordan Peterson diet.
We're seeing an explosion in cancer.
Vodka and
We're
ribeyes.
seeing an explosion in infertility. Teenagers today have
Infertility?
50%
Oh, he
sperm
wants
count
babies. He wants
and
to help that white
50%
replacement
of the
theory.
testosterone
He
of
wants to help that.
68-year-old
He's
men.
combating the white replacement
Girls
scourge.
are now reaching puberty 6 years earlier than they're supposed to. Between 10 and 13 years old. Other countries are not experiencing this.
What are we talking about?
We've seen autism rates
Oh boy.
from 1 in 10,000 when I was a kid. 1 in 10,000. 1 in every 36 kids today.
God.
1 in 22 boys in California. And the obesity rates have gone up to, as I said, 50% in adults, or 70% overall obesity or overweight, from 3%.
Sorry. Yeah, the
In
Idiocracy
Japan,
2.0 is
it's
going to
still
be lit.
3%, because they're not eating these foods.
I know.
They have nutrition programs.
I'm
in the
telling
schools where
you,
they
I
have
don't know
nutritionists
what to say.
in every school.
This guy
who's in
doesn't,
charge of
does
the
he
menu,
realize
and
what
they
the
eat healthy
regulations
foods.
are that are going to be
So they
needed
don't
in
have
order
these
to accomplish
illnesses.
what he wants to
And
accomplish?
when I was a kid, we
Does
were
he
the
know who
healthiest,
he
most
works for?
robust people in
I just
the
don't
world.
see how this
And
computes.
today we're the sickest. 60% of Americans, from 3% when my uncle was president, 60% today have chronic disease. And it's not happening in other countries.
Oh, really? Oh.
COVID,
Oh.
we had 16%.
Do we have more diagnoses
COVID
now?
deaths
Oh.
in this country.
Oh.
We only have
Oh.
4.2% of the world's population. So we
Only
could
if fried
have
in
did
tallow.
worse
That's right.
than any country in the world. And when you ask CDC why are Americans dying from COVID at higher rates than any place on earth when we have all the money, they said, well, it's not our fault. It's because Americans are so sick. That is their fault.
What?
And we're going to change that. But they said that.
You're all going to
according
drink beef tallow. Wow, you guys are dumb. You MAGA voters, you're the dumbest.
According to
You are
CDC,
dumb fucks.
the average American who died from COVID had 3.8 chronic diseases. So they had diabetes, they had obesity, and maybe asthma.
Yeah, we're going to
and
have
one other
tremendous
thing.
goodies in the bag for the women,
And it
too.
was the chronic disease really that was killing them. Healthy kids were not dying.
The fertility
Healthy
president.
Americans were not dying
Oh,
of
my
COVID.
God.
It was a
This is
disease
fucking
that attacked
Handmaid's
us.
Tale, y'all. They want
That's
more
true with all
babies.
infectious
Okay? They
diseases.
want more white babies.
If we can make ourselves the biggest thing that we can do for
So
pandemic
dumb.
preparedness
This is so dumb.
is to make ourselves healthy again. We're now 74% of American kids cannot qualify for military service because of chronic disease. So this is affecting our national security. It's destroying our economy. It is existential for this
Send
country.
you. We'll send you.
And we need to change it. And I am so happy
Ketchup
that
and
you
mayo,
have a
yeah.
visionary governor in this state.
Like
And
French
that West
dressing.
Virginia is now leading the way.
West Virginia is leading the way for the healthier America. Good. Good.
I-
Good start.
I want to commend Governor Morrissey not only for his vision but for his courage
Of
because
losing
it's
weight
very,
'cause he's a
very
fatty.
hard, and for these legislatures who are pushing this
Legislatures?
bill,
Is that
all
what
of them
they are?
Getting calls every
Or
day
legislators?
from the big soda companies, the sugar soda and the fake food companies. We're not eating food; we're eating food-like substances. And I'll tell you what happened. I was involved. In
Oh,
the
I don't
tobacco
think so.
litigation back in the late 1980s.
I'm disputing it actively
The
as he
tobacco companies
talks.
were at that
They
time
can't
the
stop what's coming.
cash-richest
I know,
companies in the
Tom.
world.
His voice does
But they
scare me.
saw
Well,
the
we're going to
writing-
end it
the
soon,
writing on
but
the wall. They saw that the consumer
I
base
guess
was
he's just going
turning
to talk
against them.
about like this.
People were stopping smoking, and that they were being prosecuted and sued successfully. Well, they settled those lawsuits, but they also started shifting
He's kind of boring.
They're-
I'm going to be honest.
resources to diversify their companies. And they went out.
What's
and they
the
bought the
proposed
food
snap
companies.
changes?
So by
I
1994,
don't want what he's having.
the two biggest food companies in the world
I want to hear what he's changing about Snap. Oh, sorry. I
were
turned him off.
R.J. Reynolds and Philip Morris. Tobacco addictive, inventing ingredients in the laboratory
Okay.
that would make it do things to food. For example, they found out that food that you fill up, your brain tells you your stomach is filled, in part by counting the number of times you chew. So they started adding softeners to our food so that you wouldn't chew so much. So you'd have a sense that you're unsatisfied, you're insatiable, you're never full, so that you keep pouring it down your mouth. And that's just one of the many things they did. They added sodium and sugar. Sugar is
So
addictive
you're going to need
as crack.
regulations in order to. Never
Almost as
mind.
bad for you. It kills
Never
you
mind.
just as surely. It just kills you a little slower.
Never mind.
Feeds tumors. It destroys your body.
Okay.
It destroys your brain.
All right.
And they added more and more sugar. to
Okay,
make
you know
us
what?
addicted to
I
the
can't.
products. And these companies
can't.
are now
He's too much. He's too much. He's too much. Because listen, let me tell you the issue. Yet again, this man wants to improve the food quality in this country, right? Very noble goal. Problem is, he doesn't seem to do the math between the fact that he needs regulations on industry to ensure healthier food without softeners or whatever. And this administration is hell-bent on deregulating. So those two things do not comport. So I get that this man thinks that he's doing something, but what he fails to bring up is the fact that the administration that he works for will absolutely reject any incursions on companies. Okay? Period. They don't want regulations. They're not going to do them. In fact, they're already unwinding them. Yeah, brainworm. Oh, thanks, Tom. I'll take a look at that. Hi, SB. I know. Well, and the thing about it is this guy is not going to succeed at what he dreams of. He's just not. Because this administration is not going to support the amount of regulations that he needs in order to change our food supply. He's just not. He's just not. I mean, if all of a sudden this administration decides they would love to, you know, do regulations on food industry, I will be shocked. I will be shocked. But anyway, all right. But we're gonna go back to the other thing. I think that's not it. That's not it. Oh, it's over here. Yeah. He sounds like some Yahoo health Yes, exactly. He said he was going to end pharma advertising on TV. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. Sure. All right. So this guy, I don't totally trust him per se. So I'm kind of offering this as just another. I actually get Jim's emails, Tom. You don't need to. Sorry about that. I should have told you that. I get Jim's Substacks. Thank you so much. Yeah, I do get Jim's Substacks.
Can the world economy crash?
Okay, so hold on.
World economy crash? The answer is that
This
yes,
is-
of course it can.
This is Richard Murphy, professor. Okay, here we go. There it is. Professor of accounting practice, Sheffield University at Management School, so UK. But he talks about, this was from, this is 3 months ago. So this is kind of a while, but it really talks about what the fundamentals are of this approach. So I just thought it's only 7 minutes and I thought we would watch it. Okay, here it is.
We know it can. It did in 2008. It had another very good go in 2020 when COVID came along. So the possibility that the world economy can crash is obviously hardwired within it. It is now something that we have to accept. Is the possibility that the world economy will crash soon a realistic likelihood? And my answer to that is yes, it almost certainly is. And the reason why comes down to 2 words: Donald Trump. Trump has set out to crash the world economy. I really don't think there's much doubt about that. He has declared trade war, and he has said that he will also impose economic sanctions on countries that refuse to use the dollar for trade. He is, in other words, setting out to undermine the credibility of the world's reserve currency, the dollar, by threatening any country that does not want to
I'm
use
sure
it.
he's insider
And
trading, Jim.
He is threatening that any country that wants to take sanction against the US because it is going to impose sanctions on them via tariffs is going to suffer as a consequence. You cannot do that if you are the world's major economic power and not give rise to the likelihood of an economic crash. Simple, straightforward, fact. So, should we be worried about this? Well, yes, of course we should be. But what is the consequence going to be? And why is Donald Trump not worried about this? And the answer to that is that I'm afraid to say that something has also become hardwired into the world economy. In 2008 and in 2020, the world was saved with bailout money. In 2008, quantitative easing became a feature of economic life. Before then, the possibility that the government would issue bonds to immediately repurchase them to pretend that it wasn't actually providing direct finance to itself from its central bank to fund its programs to ensure that the economy kept going was unknown. But that is what QE did in 2008. And let's be honest, despite all the problems it gave rise to, and it should not have been done in the way that it was, it did keep economies going during that crisis. And it did exactly the same again in 2020. Again, I would not have done it as the QE program was managed. And the aftermath of that program, the quantitative tightening program now being run by the Bank of England, is completely disastrous and was in fact the main cause for the crash during Liz Truss's short premiership. But the fact is that the government's ability to create money to support a program during an economic crash was proved for the second time in a little over a decade to be fundamental to keeping the world economy going. So what is Trump doing? He's relying on another bailout. That, I am sure, is what underpins his thinking and that of those who are following him. What they know is that those two bailouts, structured as they were incredibly good for their own financial well-being. They probably weren't great for your financial well-being because wages have in effect flatlined since 2000.
What he's saying, if I'm understanding it correctly, what he's saying is that they're doing this in order to assume that the government will bail itself out. If the bottom falls out of the dollar, tariffs drive trade wars. He's saying they're hoping for a bailout. And they know that people, all that money that was bailed out was pretty much forgiven, right? It's kind of interesting.
2008. GDP growth has flatlined since 2008. And since 2020, very large numbers of people have not been able to work who previously did for all sorts of reasons as a consequence of the fallout from COVID. And we most certainly have not been seeing growth.
I
And we
don't know.
are
Is he the
austerity
wealthiest
again.
guy in
So
Congress?
for lots of reasons, most people in the world have suffered since 2008. But Trump and his cohort haven't. That cohort is the world's wealthy. And they did immensely well out of quantitative easing because the way in which it was structured was to provide funds to the City of London, to the banking arrangements of New York, and to the bankers of Frankfurt. And they used that money to basically inflate the value of the world's financial assets. Stock markets have increased in value since 2008, unsurprisingly, because lots of money, whole walls of money, have flooded in their direction. Commercial property prices have increased. Domestic property prices have increased. Anything which has no productive value in itself. Because let's be clear, shares are not actually a productive asset, they're a financial asset, and most commercial property is not in the sense that I'm talking about a productive asset, because it is used for speculative purposes. And the increase in the value of our properties is not productive in the sense that very large numbers of young people are being excluded from home ownership and the security that it provides as a result. But there's been no increase, therefore, in productive investment. But the value of assets used for speculative purposes by the wealthy has gone through the roof. And what does Trump expect if he creates another world financial crisis? He believes there will be a bailout. And he believes that he and his cohort, the world's wealthy, will benefit from there being vastly more money in circulation with very little to use it on except the inflation in the value of the assets that they own. That is what he's banking on. This is literally, I think, his economic policy. This is what he expects as a consequence of his trade wars. He doesn't care that we suffer. He won't care about the countries in the developing world. The vast majority of countries in the world, in fact, who have their debts denominated in dollars, who will suffer enormously as a result of their struggle to find the means to repay those debts, as, for the time being, the dollar is inflated in value and interest rates are too high. He won't care that people are thrown out of work. All he cares about is the inflation in asset values. And that is what the whole of the world economy is now geared to create for the benefit of a few at cost to the vast majority. Trump's economic policy makes sense if you see it in this way. He runs a bailout economic strategy that is going to work for him and his friends because it will result, when the world economy crashes, in yet more money being made available through the central banking system to inflate the value of the assets that they own. And they'll say, thank you very much, we did very nicely out of that. When can we have another crash? Thanks for watching this video.
So again, that's his perspective. I'll link this obviously in the videos. But yeah, it's you know what kind of strikes me about this time, versus other times is I hope people see what this administration is doing through the lens of who does it benefit, and think outside of what the norms would be, right? Because people like this administration don't act within norms. They have realized that if they do something shocking, it's easier to get away with it because people are so on their heels about how shocking it was, whatever they did, that they're no longer paying attention to the to the actual like consequence. So and that it actually happened. So I thought it was really interesting. And I thought his perspective was interesting. Thank you for that. Now, let me see. Boop. Yeah, and so I really want to find that clip. I have got to find that clip about the tariffs being permanent. Let's see. This was okay. I wanted to actually watch one other thing. Hold on. Do do do. Do 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 do. Okay, wait. Hold on. Bling 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 bling. Where is it? Where's my playlist? Where's my playlist? Where's my playlist? There it is. Is that what I wanted to watch? No. Yeah, no. Yep, no. Okay, well, that's not it. All right, hold on. Sorry. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Oh, here it is. Here it is. This one's 21 minutes, but anyway, I wanted to kind of get, answer a question about, was it in the Q&A of TFG's? I think it was. In fact, I'm sure it was. I just have to go back and find the moment where he said it. I thought it was near the end of the comments. I'll find it today because I'd like to add to that. But yeah, I thought that was really interesting because he was like very matter of fact, like, oh no, these are permanent. So it's like that to me is just another kind of move towards the concepts of the Mar-a-Lago Accord. But it was really interesting. So, okay, so this I thought was also a good overview about what did Project 2025 say about trade, tariffs, etc., and what is Trump now doing. And this is from 8 days ago, so this is about a week ago. And I thought I thought this would be interesting perspective about what was talked about early on and how has that evolved into reality and actual outcomes. So we'll see what they have to say. This is the Globe in the Mail. So, take it with a grain of salt, but here we go. Doodly-doo.
Project 2025 is a transition Bible for a Republican president.
That's Tim Kolatz. He's a financial reporter and columnist at the Globe.
And it was set up by the Heritage Foundation, which is kind of like a deeply conservative think tank in Washington. They're almost kind of like activist oriented is maybe the best way to think about them. And they assembled this agenda that they called something prepared by and for conservatives who will be ready on day one of the next administration to save our country.
Part of the Project 2025 agenda laid out a plan to use tariffs as a way of correcting a perceived imbalance in trade. It also had the goal of bringing manufacturing jobs back to the U.S. President Trump started to enact that plan when he took office, but then he went off script.
Thank you,
and
Neil.
now, other Republicans and Wall Street are trying to figure out what the president's long-term strategy is and what to do about it. Tim is on the show today to tell us about this Project 2025 tariff plan, how Trump suddenly changed course, and why it's left global economies scrambling. I'm Menaka Raman-Welms, and this is The Decibel from the Globe and Mail. Tim, thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here.
So I think most of us remember hearing about Project 2025. It came up a lot during the U.S. presidential election campaign last year, but not really when it comes to trade and tariff policy. So what exactly does Project 2025 say in terms of tariffs?
So there's actually two parts to it. So it's hard to summarize in a single sentence, but the dominant section on trade is written by Peter Navarro. He was the one in the first Trump administration who really advocated for more aggressive tariffs or tariffs of any sort to kind of rebalance trade in favor of the U.S. So he came back and he wrote this piece about quote unquote fair trade. And to be frank, when you go and you read it now, it's actually pretty thoughtful in that it's not written with this ridiculous rhetoric that you hear coming out of the president's mouth. It's very much calm and measured. And even if you disagree with it, it almost comes across like an academic argument. That's probably the best way I would describe it. If you really boil it down, there's two major things. One is reciprocal tariffs. So if someone charges us 10%, we're going to charge them 10%. And secondly, more aggressive measures on China. For a bit of context here, he actually just last year served a 4-month prison sentence for defying a congressional subpoena. So he's one of these Trump characters that from the first time around kind of seemed like they just kind of were like in the shadows, but also having huge influence on the president. And to some, they're viewed as kind of wingnuts. They had these kind of radical ideas that, if you put a bunch of economists in a room, like 100 economists in a room, 99 out of 100 would never advocate for what he's advocating. But yet he sells it in such a strong way that it sounds convincing.
Okay, so we've got Project 2025, which calls for fair trade through reciprocal tariffs and also more aggressive policies towards China. That's what the document laid out. But Tim, how have Trump's policies on tariffs diverged from that? One
of the biggest examples of that, sadly for us, is Canada. To this idea of, we need to have reciprocal trade and all of that, well, that is negotiated into the free trade agreement. And that is why these things take so long to negotiate, because everybody has a side and certain things that they want to protect. And so you kind of come to this compromise is what it boils down to. And it's like he's saying the compromise can't exist anymore. It's like we have to win, whatever winning looks like. And so you're seeing it now, like even Fox News hosts who Trump likes and is doing interviews with, like they, to my surprise, are kind of standing up for Canada. And they're like, Mr. President, why Canada though? And I think the real shift, to be honest, was the steel and aluminum tariffs. Because for so many of the threats he's made so far, he would kind of back off. So remember early March, it was going to be, we're going to do autos. Autos are screwed. And then it's like, okay, we're going to give them a 1-month delay until April. But then steel and aluminum came and it was just like, no, we are not backing down. So you could argue, if I'm trying to be like super fair-minded here, that this is in Project 2025. Peter Navarro does talk about needing to rebuild America's kind of manufacturing base for things like steel, so that he says we need to be able to manufacture machinery, like war machinery, basically, so that we can defend our Western allies if they are attacked, things of that sort. So it didn't come across like we want to screw the world. And then the second thing that is a major divergence from this kind of framework is the best way to say it is that the goalposts keep changing. So it's like, okay, so you want to have reciprocal tariffs. Okay, even if you disagree with that, which most economists do for the record, you kind of have to have a reason for that. And, with Canada, if you remember, it started out with, well, they have fentanyl flowing across the Canadian border. That's been disproven now. And there's been enough chatter about how fake that is in the US that now it's changing. And now that the stock market's starting to correct and fall because investors are like, whoa, you are diverging so much. And so now the narrative is no pain, no gain, that type of idea. And starting to project this idea that is very similar, to be honest, to how, China's leaders talk about, we need to build for the future. And even if that means years of pain, this will make us stronger in the end. And so you have this crazy thing going on where that's not the traditional American way, but it's also not necessarily wrong. It's just that Americans and investors are now just slowly coming to terms with like, well, what does this mean? Like, how's this going to impact us?
So let's talk about that, because last week we did see stock markets react to all of these tariff threats, the back and forth. So how has the business community, and I guess I can ask for Wall Street as well, how have they responded to Trump's approach?
It's kind of a two-part answer, because there are the public comments that have been made, particularly by automakers whose manufacturing supply chains like span Canada, US, Mexico. And, I think a lot of people have heard at least anecdotes about how goods fly across those borders multiple times in the span of making a car. So you've had some people saying out loud, like, this is going to blow up the industry, which is, for context, crazy when you think about Trump's goal. One of his big threats or one of his big fears is China. And China's auto industry right now is killing it. Like BYD, their electric car maker, is years ahead of us. So why are you going to destroy the industry in North America even more? And he doesn't seem to think about the knock-on effects. To me, that is kind of one of the real problems with this whole strategy. Okay, this sounds great maybe in step one, but what about step two and step three? You cannot just move all manufacturing back to the US right away. Secondly, though, in the business community, you're hearing this more and more, and this is what I kept hearing in Washington about, the best way I can describe it is that the traditional conservatives and conservative business leaders, like, they just don't like Trump. Like, within the Republican Party, there's the Republicans that you might think of as like kind of the George Bush type Republicans. And then there's the White House. And the White House is its own bubble. It's chaos.
It sounds like Project 2025 laid out this plan for fair trade eventually. Trump started to enact this plan. What went wrong, though, with the implementation? Like, was there a miscalculation here?
Yeah, I gave a lot of thought to this because I think day to day, we're just like bombarded with news now. And trade aside, there's like crazy stuff happening every day in the US. And so it's kind of hard to kind of take a step back. But last week, what became apparent to me is, one, the White House / Trump really did not anticipate retaliatory tariffs, which is effectively what Canada has done. And I think that is why Trump is so pissed off at Canada. Because if the rest of the world follows our model,
how would he not expect that?
And that has always been the underlying fear from economists that the White House would never talk about, or they dismissed this idea that, what really exacerbated the Great Depression 100 years ago in the US as the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act, they actually erected tariff barriers, and the rest of the world replied, and everything kind of just shut down, and it made the pain much worse. And for some reason, they just didn't think that other countries would do it now.
So I guess that's kind of what caught the U.S. off guard then, these retaliatory tariffs that Canada and other countries are actually putting back on the U.S.
Yeah, and if you go back to Project 2025, to my point about how it's kind of like an academic exercise, that stuff isn't in there. Or if it's in there, it's like so breathed past. And this is where you have kind of theorists and academics versus real politic, or whatever you want to call it, because the politics of it all really matter. And so somebody down there said to me, the technocrat crowd have never had to sit in front of a fuming US senator and have to explain, like, okay, you're killing my farmers in my district. Like, what are you guys doing? And so I think that you're going to see play out more and more. But the second thing I would say in terms of what has been the miscalculation is that the White House, that circle, whatever you want to call it, did not appreciate enough Trump's response to retaliatory tariffs. Or like when they would come in, how he would then react. Because his whole thing, and we saw this with electricity last week, is to just ratchet up the pain. Oh, you're going to do electricity surcharges? Cool. We're going to double steel and aluminum to 50%.
This is when Ontario Premier Doug Ford said, okay, we're going to put a surcharge on electricity we send to the States. And then Trump said, all right, well, now your tariffs are going to be 50% instead of 25%.
Effectively a tweet on Truth Social just says this. And so I think what you're seeing play out now is, during last week, by the end of the week, the Canadian officials flew down, Doug Ford, including, our finance minister, et cetera. And afterwards, I was at the press conference at the Canadian Embassy, and everyone was projecting calm. It was just like, we had a great meeting, and I think the back channel now is very much like, please, guys, don't inflame him, meaning Mr. Trump, and I can work with you, because if things get too inflamed, then he gets inflamed, and then this is either Lutnick or somebody around Trump, has to kind of manage him publicly. Plus the markets are now, investors are now speaking. So there's a lot, you're seeing more news coming out of Washington about the White House is miscalculating. There was a piece in Politico about how Howard Lutnick is effectively been a disaster so far. So like the knives are out.
We'll be back in a minute.
Are you coming back?
So, Tim, you were just recently in Washington. You were talking to politicians and strategists. What did you...
I do want to say, it is very interesting to me. So there's the market is down. Yes, everything is down. It is interesting to me, Howard Lutnick, and this kind of like the gossipy part of this podcast where he's talking about, oh, so-and-so hates Trump or whatever. I'm not so sure I'm buying all of that because a lot of it is just performative. But, I think Howard Lutnick is very much an architect with others. We can't just dismiss him as the used car salesman. Right? Oh, that's right. Nutlicker. Sorry. Howard Nutlicker. That's what I meant to say. God, I even wrote it. But anyway, point is that even, Howard Nutlicker is a longtime financial scam artist. And Cantor Fitzgerald and all kinds of things. So he's got a long history of nonsense, and he's not dumb, and he's not a buffoon, and he has a big mouth, but he basically is, I believe, more acting out of bravado and kind of like, I'm untouchable because we have everything. Howard knows what he's got. Howard knows what he's got. Howard is the guy who said, it doesn't matter if my 94-year-old mother-in-law doesn't get her Social Security check, she wouldn't complain. And if you complain about not getting your Social Security check, you must be abusing the system. So Howard Nutlicker is very dangerous. So I can understand if there's like heat around him, but I don't think he's worried. I don't think he's worried because what are they going to do? They're not going to put him in jail or anything or fire him. They don't have to. They hold the cards. They hold to use his phrase, they hold a lot of cards right now. Not saying it can't and shouldn't change, but I'm just saying right now he's acting like he's got the catbird seat, and quite frankly, right now he does. So anyway, I know.
You hear from them about where this trade war might actually be headed.
The worst part is no one knows. And the big piece of feedback I got, and this is from somebody who wrote part of Project 2025, do not think that they have a plan. Like, I want to caution you from thinking that there is a grand strategy, because I think a lot of investors in particular, until very recently, were thinking that for all the chaos, look through it, look through the noise, and there's a strategy here. And this ties back to Project 2025 and the idea of reciprocal tariffs. And there was also like an official White House memorandum that went out about studying these reciprocal tariffs. And on April 2nd, everybody's going to kind of find out what their number is. That's how it's being conveyed. So people were clinging onto that. But then more and more madness was happening. And now people are realizing like, maybe this is not, like, maybe there is no strategy here. Maybe Trump just really thought that everyone would just back down, and that he would win. If you want to give him full credit and say, okay, totally get it. You want to bring manufacturing back. It's a worthwhile initiative. A lot of blue collar jobs have been hollowed out over the years, which again is something Democrats used to talk about.
And this is part of the argument for tariffs, right? That want to bring manufacturing back to the states.
Exactly. And you cannot just shift a plant in a year. So like what were they expecting? Like, how do they think this was going to play out? And that's what the automakers are particularly up in arms. But at the same time, in terms of kind of theory around it all, it gets a bit, like into the weeds. But the idea of free trade really boils down to something we learned centuries ago, which is that if you've got a trading partner, both of you can benefit if you focus on what you do best. Trump is kind of throwing out every economic argument. To try to give credit to the administration there, China really did exploit this for a long time and had really low cost workers, and American companies were happy to ship their production over there. And bit by bit, they just became this dominant force. But I think the difference that the administration is not taking into account is China did it bit by bit.
Takes a long time.
This is a 20-year process. And it's like Donald Trump just wants to do it tomorrow. And that's where the chaos really stems from.
So to get back to this idea of, maybe there isn't a strategy here, maybe this is just kind of a chaotic time, is there any point, I guess, where maybe Congress kind of takes control of that fiscal policy away from the White House? Is that being discussed?
That was one of the whispers I kept hearing more and more. Whether it actually plays out, don't know, because so far, like for instance, our Republican senators have been very happy to just kind of go along with most of his plans. If you look even at just kind of the confirmation hearings and some of the more radical politicians or secretaries that have been confirmed, they haven't stood up to him. So I think what's going to come down to is waiting for their constituents to feel pain, to then give feedback to the senators. And then they kind of feel like they have the ammo to say, Mr. President, this is not working.
Okay, so if it comes down to the constituents, let's talk about the American public then, Tim. How has this all been received by people?
The most jarring thing to me, to be honest, and I'm trying to tell this to everybody I know, and now I'm telling the world, is there's an incredible difference right now between the discussions in the US versus what is happening in Canada. And so I'll lay it out like this. Before I went down, one of my colleagues here at work, we were talking, we went to Tim Hortons. It was the most Canadian thing in a way. We went to Tim Hortons to pick up a coffee. I remember we were in the Tim Hortons line they said to me, would you join the military?
Did I
if they
mute
attacked?
them?
Wow.
So it's that level of conversation.
Wait.
And this is happening a lot. An editor here, her son is in university. She just
Did I mute something? Did I mute it? Did I mute? Oh, no, you're mistaken. Oh, thank God. Because I just did something with the sound, so I wanted to make sure I didn't screw it up. Sorry.
told me that her son has asked her, like, do you think there'll be a draft? It's like, this is where Canadians are. Flying to the US could feel almost like flying behind enemy lines or something. Like it was like, what's going on down here? Within like 3 hours, I was like, no one here is talking about Canada. Like we are whipped up into a conniption, and understandably so. I was part of it. But it was actually, in the long run, a very good thing to experience, because it's like a classic scenario where you have two sides like speaking a different language to each other effectively. And what I've realized is, like, tying back to an idea of kind of Trump's miscalculations, they don't understand that because the Canadian public is so pissed off, particularly because of like the 51st state comments and things of that sort, our politicians, even if they want to be super measured, they can't be that much, because then they'll go offside with the Canadian public. You know, it all kind of becomes this game. And it blows my mind that, you know, in this very digitized age where you think information is abundant, that you can still have these massive communication breakdowns. And I think that is why on Tuesday, Ontario Premier Doug Ford gave this press conference, which was kind of like an update, saying, you know, there is no attack. They are not coming. He directly said something to that effect. Because I think they realize, like, we really need to tone down this rhetoric so that we can have more kind of calm discussions. But the second major thing there that has been like the Canadians don't understand is the average American, I would argue. And for context here, just so everybody knows, I am married to an American. I have American in-laws. So this is not just like, I spent a few days in Washington and I'm going to tell you how it is. The average American does not understand tariffs. And I met one day with a very, you know, connected Republican strategist, pollster, who have a lot of sway in the US, who has some Canadian connections. I'll leave it at that just to kind of protect them. But they understood the Canadian side of things. And I just asked, like, what is it? Like, how is this happening? And just very calmly, they said back to me, superpower arrogance.
Wow.
They just implicitly assume that they can absorb whatever economic pain is coming, like, or worse, that they'll just be immune. I actually truly believe that they're not even tuned in. Because of that assumption, they don't pay attention. And for those who voted for Donald Trump, they're only hearing the snippets of, like, we're bringing manufacturing back. And they're like, okay, cool. That's what I wanted, So my big takeaway from
Ding,
it all
ding,
has
ding.
been, we got to give it time, which is so unfortunate because there's going to be real pain in the meantime. But I keep saying I want to just go into a sleep chamber for 6 months because I don't think anything's going to drastically change until, the average American person feels some pain, whether it's from higher costs, from tariffs, or somehow they're tied to the auto industry and somehow their plant just closes or goes on like a 6-month hiatus or whatever,
So you're saying the average American might not feel the effects of these tariffs and all of this chaos for another 6 months or something?
Yeah, because it's just how the economy works. There's been some kind of a big American companies that anticipating some of this pain have stockpiled some goods. So maybe some auto plants already brought in a bunch of aluminum or steel, or you know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. Or farmers, they wanted Canadian potash, which is kind of like a fertilizer for their crops. They pre-loaded that for this year's crop, so we actually won't feel the pain maybe till next year. I don't know the exact answer. And it's also just the way the economy works. Like if a company raises prices today, consumers don't change their behavior unless it's like a drastic increase for a few months, right? So I think we're all sitting here kind of just like bitter, angry, and completely understandably so, waiting like, when are they going to realize what's going on? And it's like, I think we all need to breathe. Like it may not be until September, which is horrifying.
Well, just lastly here, Tim, we've talked about a whole bunch of different things here, but I guess a big question I have is how long can the U.S. economy and also the global economy, how long can they withstand this kind of unpredictability?
That is the big question in Washington right now, too, because with this
I'm
idea
like, we need
of
Putin to frog?
economic heft in the
We need
U.S.
Putin to
and being the
toad?
superpower,
No, we need Putin
it is
to
very likely that if this global
ribbit.
trade war goes on and, there's retaliatory tariffs across the board after April and, Trump just kind of says, I'm not changing. So then everybody kind of lets this be. The U.S. is big enough and strong enough economically to probably come out as the winner if this goes on as kind of an economic war of attrition. The problem is you could all still lose because there's lower economic activity in general.
Oh no,
we're all
we'll
so
lose.
interconnected nowadays.
I think we lose.
That you can't live on an island by yourself as a country. That's kind of what it boils down to.
Unless
And
you
I
take
don't
over all
know
the other
if
islands,
the White House
sir.
or the president is even thinking that way.
Unless you take
They're
over all the
so
other
focused
islands.
on getting his win for his term that there's not thinking
No.
about, like, well, in 10 years from now, like, how does this look?
No, he's not worried about 10 years from now. He doesn't give a shit. He knows the calculus has been made. If they go on the blockchain and, take it all offline, off grid. Oh, gosh, my dog's really barking. Okay, guess what? I'm going to leave you on a cliffhanger because I have so much more about the economy. And we have more to do. But I'm going to stop here because it's a lot. And we'll probably have Financial Fridays until we get through all this. So look forward to that. Financial Fridays. Fucked Finance Fridays. That's what we're going to call it. Fucked Finance Fridays in our PJs. Hopefully. A cliffhanger. That's right. But what'll happen next? I have so much to talk to you about. I really tried to put a lot of energy into today's stuff. So I will, blessings over $1,000 donation. How will history treat him? Yeah, he doesn't give a shit about that. He doesn't care. Money, money, money. It's so funny. It's a rich man's world. All right. So I will see you tonight for the movies. Yeah, Fucked Finance Friday. We talk about big balls. So many grifts. So tonight is the movies. It's a double feature. I've got some Max selections to go through, so we'll have a wonderful Max selection. And then we'll have another feature that I have not yet decided on. I don't know what the movies are yet. I'm sorry. I was thinking Point Break. But we could be a surprise, too. If you have ideas, you can drop them in Discord or something. Oh, I'm always sorry. Griftapalooza. Point Break. I love Point Break. Anyway, thank you so much. Thanks for coming and putting up with Financial Fridays. Yikes. I know it's a little boring. I'm going to try and make it not too boring. I appreciate you too. Thanks, butterflies. Oh, Mr. Limpet. I love that movie. All right. I'll see you guys tonight on the Discord. And hopefully, yes, Max Flower gave me a beautiful list of fantastic film festival selections from Max Flower's After Dark stable. All right, I better go. That dog is really barking. Okay, I love you guys. I will definitely talk. I love the Ghost of Mr. Chicken. Oh my God. Now I want that. Okay.